Connecting community, creating impact. This is the Chamber Link.
I'm Shannon Full, the CEO for the Chamber, the Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo Chamber. And so standing in today and excited to host today's episode. Today we are really excited to be talking about everything tourism and some new leadership coming into the Valley. And so one of the community's most influential leadership roles in tourism and economic storytelling, which I love that term, economic storytelling. I am joined today by Shirley Hughes, the new president and CEO of Visit Fargo-Moorhead. And so Shirley's coming back to the region. But before we dive into all my questions and all the conversation, Shirley, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, Shannon, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. So grew up in Gwinner, North Dakota, a Bobcat family, which makes it really fun coming back to the community, that there's such a big part of the community here. Went to MSUM and had a couple jobs and then ended up working at the Fargo-Moorhead Convention and Visitors Bureau, as we called it then, for about 6.5 years under Cole Carley. I know a lot of our listeners remember and know Cole. He's still active in the community as well. And got an opportunity to spread my wings, as they say, and left to go to California and ended up staying there, who knew, for 28 years. And here I am, got the opportunity to come back to family, to come back home, and with the perfect job for me at the perfect time. So very excited. And that's the short of it, as they say.
That's wonderful. So California back to North Dakota. It'll be quite the transition and quite the change. Talk a little bit about what your roles were prior to this in California, and what aspects of that have positioned you well for this new role.
So I was extremely lucky with the career that I built in California. A lot of that is luck. A lot of that is, the opportunities that you're given. I spent most of the last 28 years in marketing, but especially in sports and entertainment. So, again, the storytelling piece that you talked about, I've run groups that do PR, talent and influencer, sponsorship and activations for brands globally. MasterCard, Verizon, Heineken, Bacardi. You name it, I've done work for and had the opportunity to sit at the table with these CEOs and these CMOs and these leaders across the world, and not only seeing what we did for them, but what they did as a whole, and from really excellent leadership in general. So I've been really lucky, and I worked in the agency side, did a lot of different things, and I think what that did for me outside of growing up in that community and in that world was really just fine-tune my marketing ability and how I look at things, again, from a culturally relevant perspective and what we can bring to that, because tourism is entertainment at the end of the day. We bring people to our community to enjoy and to be entertained and while they're here, and to stay longer, spend more money, all the things that go with that. And then on the sports side, the people that I have gotten to know of the years that I've worked in sports, I cannot wait to leverage for our community, because sports is such a huge part of our community, not only from a tourism perspective, but everybody that's involved in either their kids or them themselves, or being part of host committees, as an example. So I think the combination of everything that I did before I left here brought me to that, and now this has brought me back.
And it's so uniquely positioned, that, right? In the fact that you've got a lot of what I love about your background is that it's a very diverse background, but all around that storytelling, all around marketing, all around how do we create that community around there. So when you think about the main reasons, what's your why? Why did you come back to North Dakota?
Number one, family.
Yes.
Number two, my friends. And while I loved the life we had in Los Angeles, and I still consider it home, I always will, because I was there so long, it's really time for me right now. Also, a little bit of a slower pace is much more appreciated while I am busy. Not that I'm not busy, but the ability to be again closer to family, number one, as your parents get older. My brother and his family, and lots of extended family here. The ability to make and what I believe a big impact on a community as well, because of everything I learned the hard way and the good way to bring back to this organization. And again, I think it was the right job at the right time. I think this was the one job that would have brought me back.
So when you think about that, talk a little bit. Tell our listeners a little bit more about what specific experiences or skill sets or attributes are you bringing to the table because of your previous experiences?
I think it's first and foremost coming from a strategic lens and making sure that we're looking at things from the top down to start, and that we have intent and purpose in what we do. And I think that the organization, I'm really impressed with where they've gone, at least in over the past 3 years and stuff that I've seen, which is great, and it'll be a great jumping off point for that. Also, a lot of experience from a PR and earned media space, which we don't do a lot of now, which quickly changed even the first week. With my head of marketing, we're sitting down and really looking at what that looks like for us in storytelling about our community to our multiple audiences that we have. The leisure traveler, we do talk to an international traveler, the convention and meetings planner, our corporate community, as well as our sports audiences as well. So we've got a lot of stories to tell, and there's a lot of ways to do it. So that I'm super excited about, and I think that's something that will definitely shift how the organization is looked at and perceived. And then just, again, basics of marketing and how we utilize the tools that we have with the limited budgets that we have, along with our community partners like yourself, our attractions, our facilities, and we have to do this together. So I'm excited about that collaboration bit as it comes to from a marketing perspective as well.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I can't wait to explore even further collaboration. It's one of the things that when I came 5 years ago, it is a unique asset of this region, just truly how people really do love to work together to lift each other up and to really better showcase. That's one of the areas I said too, is that I had no idea that the Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo region had all of the amenities, the assets, the opportunities, the industry that it has. And so how can we have that be a little less of a well-kept secret and a little bit more of a shout it from the rooftops, right?
Completely agree. I think one of the other things for me that I loved even the first time that I was here is 3 cities, 2 states, 3 mayors, 3 city councils, 2 governors, 2 heads of tourism that we deal with, all the stakeholders, but that makes it more exciting for me. It's very dynamic in a dynamic organization already. That to me just, again, to be able to have a seat at the table in all of those rooms is amazing.
So when you think we're going to shift in just a bit after the break to more of the vision of the organization, but when you think about what the region was like when you were here 28, 29 years ago to where it is now, how would you describe that, and what are some of what excites you the most about that?
So many things. Well, I'll use my little analogy that we talked about earlier as coming back here in the organization, in the community. It feels like a really comfortable old shoe that fits, but it's bedazzled and it's sparkly and it has all kinds of, things on it that you didn't see before that weren't here. And from the facilities that we have, again, everything from a sports perspective, it's unbelievable. The community of this size, what we have, to the hotels, the growth in hotels, to the growth in business. I mean, unbelievable, the growth in business. And you support, those businesses every day, which is amazing. And just the vision and the effect on not only regional but national industry as well as international industry that's sitting here in this community is pretty awesome.
It is very awesome. So, well, I know that we're going to get into much more of the crux of your vision and where we're headed for the CVB, but also for, I say the CVB still, right? Visit Fargo-Moorhead. But we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll be right back in just a moment. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Shannon Full here, the president and CEO of the Chamber. So happy to have our brand new president and CEO of Visit Fargo-Moorhead, Shirley Hughes, with us today. We're talking a little bit about her life story, a little bit of her background, and the fact that we've been able to bring her back. So a boomerang back into the community. It's what we love. So we're very excited. We learned a little bit about Shirley already. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the organization as a whole, what you see as the vision, some of the opportunities, some of maybe the obstacles that you think we're facing. But let's dive first into, I'm sure many have asked you this already. What do you see? And this is a big question, and it can take us down lots of different paths. But what is the vision that you have for Visit Fargo-Moorhead? And let's talk a little bit about your perspectives on that.
So a lot of thoughts there. So first of all, what I'm doing the first 90 days, it's really a listening tour across all aspects of the community. Business people, again, our other partners in hotels, event people, etc. I think the vision, first and foremost, is to make sure with our convention center opportunity that we are able to kick that off in the right way once we know where the shovel's going to go, and that we have a good strategic plan to make that successful. And that's a big part of what I believe will actually change even the vision and the appearance of our community in other markets in the region and in the nation. So I think it's really important for us that we nail that. And that's going to be an ongoing process, right? You've been a part of that. It's not just going to be, all of a sudden we decide and it's done. That's going to be a big part of what we do as an organization moving forward. Second, I think, just a stat, Cass County alone had $1 billion in economic spending in 2024, and that doesn't even count Moorhead side or anything else in Minnesota. So the fact that we need to double down on what this region is as even a leisure tourist destination, and again, going back to telling the stories in different and unique ways, I think is extremely important. And honestly, Shannon, it's bigger than our remit, but we need to talk to our Canadians again. We need to bring them back. And we are doing that as we speak. We're doing a Canadian shopping campaign that's kicking off before Black Friday. Our community partners are very excited about it. We'll see. My belief is they need to go somewhere at some point in time. And I know there's lots of reasons they're not traveling here, but hopefully they got to go somewhere, and hopefully they'll come back here. And it's a big piece of what I think we need to do in the short term is, again, bring them back from a visitor perspective as much as we have control. And second, doubling down on that storytelling. And I think the more I'm listening to community leaders also to see what our opportunity is, and we are in the third year of our strategic vision and goals for Visit Fargo-Moorhead. 2026 is the third year of our three-year plan. So we will be looking at what the next 3 years looks like. Come mid next year, we'll be developing that. And again, that is what that looks like even post-convention center being built, or what's in between that and what's really next besides that, because there's more things that we can do. So excited about what that looks like.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You just gave me lots of things to talk about now. But I think we all know that visitors are really the first impression, right? So many people visit a place and then they decide, or they see themselves in that location, right? They think to themselves, oh, I could see me raising a family here. I could see starting a business here. Maybe I could make an impact as a leader in this community. So I think it's so critical that we are looking at tourism with a broad and a big lens. I know when you talk about tourism, we've had the pleasure of talking a little bit in the past about, many would say, oh, is Fargo really a destination? Are people really coming to it? What do you say to that when somebody asks, and why are most people coming here? So maybe you could talk a little bit about the different sectors that you serve and the areas you want to make sure that we focus on.
So it's dynamic and complicated, way more than you would think, right? But it's not difficult. We have a huge corporate sector here that brings people in. Talk to your hotels, and they've got corporate people in all the time, whether it's Titan or Doosan or NDSU, just alone, Alderon, Microsoft, just those top 5 alone. So, but they are, even though they're here for business, they're also experiencing this community as you've talked about. And then, maybe I'll bring my family here for the weekend, right? Maybe we'll do that. That's something new and different. Oh, they have the street fair thing, that sounds interesting, or whatever it might be that will bring them back. Again, leaning into sports. Sports is our biggest vertical right now from the revenue that we drive and economic impact. There are more facilities here than even some of our regional communities that are larger than us, and how we lean into that and what I'm calling pour gas on that to, as I've told my head of sport, find a cap throwing competition, whatever it is. There's a competition for everything.
Right.
So we have the facilities to do that in, and even will more after the convention center. So going deeper in that world outside of our traditional sports that we do. And how we can build that as well. And then I think it's really also, one of the things that we do as an organization is we give out capital grants, and we give those to organizations. $6 million we've given out since 2012 to organizations such as Concordia's track. We've given it to them. We can now bring in, bigger track meets, and we can work Concordia side by side. We've given to the Fargo Park District for the new sports facility, Fargo Theater, Fargo Community Theater, Plains Art Museum. So helping develop either new science museum, for instance, if that should come to fruition, or helping our existing attractions and facilities be world-class and state-of-the-art. So that makes me really proud that we have done that as an organization, and that we will continue to do that moving forward, because that what helps make our community better and makes people want to come back.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And so, and that is what the other piece that people maybe don't see is that we need all of that, right? You need the physical infrastructure. You need the aspect of how are we investing in our community and making sure that we're able to compete, right? Because it is about competition and how we're able to draw some of that in, whether that be if we can get more and more of our companies to bring people back, which we are hearing that there is still, even post-COVID, right? There is a lot more corporate travel that's happening, and we've got 9 $1 billion plus companies that are headquartered here. We know that is a big sector of this, but those physical pieces are big, but so are the human capital, right? Your team. Talk a little bit about what excites you about the people of this community, and specifically the people that you get to work with each and every day now.
Well, first and foremost, this is one of the most welcoming communities, and I don't even say that because I'm from here, but having lived in others, it is a community that it is cooperative, and while no community is perfect, it's welcoming. People want people to come here because they understand how special it is. When I was here the first time, our logo was more than you expect. And now we're north of normal, right? That says a whole different thing. But what I truly believe is when people come here, they have no idea what's here. And it's continuing, to your point, to educate people on that and leaning into our own leadership, executives, anybody in the community that's a stakeholder, and anybody that lives here, and helping to share our message and what that really means. So what I love about my listening tour that I'm on is, people have said, you should meet this person. Everybody has said yes. And, my coffee and dance card is full, but that's what I want to do. And again, as we go wider in our outreach, and so people understand the economic impact of what we do as an organization, is my number one mission. Number two, we'll talk more in a future time about how I'm trying to encourage our not only our corporate partners, but everybody that is a member of an association. Why can't we have some of that here? I know everybody wants to go to Florida, or sunshine. But anyway, that's a whole other thing that we'll launch into, and how we can bring those events and things home. Not every time, but every once in a while, and the impact that would make in our community.
Yeah, because there would be a significant direct financial impact, but also just an impact of pride, right? If we're able to curate more local storytellers and say, I think you say that right now. I'm like, okay, I sit on 2 national boards. We've got multiple regional meetings that happen within those. Why can't we position our region to host one of those?
If I could, I had a meeting with your board chair.
Yeah.
And I said to her, every one of your doctors, nurses, physicians, therapists, everybody is a member of something. Right? Even if we got a board meeting to come here, and it goes back to workforce as well. Yes. When you're talking about recruiting and retention, and especially in those bigger industries that we have, that the workforce lift is a lot. And the work that the EDC is doing to bring new primary sector businesses here, and you come here to visit again. There is if our board talked to you about the quote from Mara Gast from Irving. So this is it. If you build a place where people want to visit, you'll build a place where people want to live. If you build a place where people want to live, you build a place where people want to work. If you build a place where people want to work, you'll build a place where business wants to be. And if you build a place where business wants to be, we're back to building a place that people want to visit. It's all interchanged.
Oh my
It's all
gosh.
interconnected.
I love that. And we're going to take a pause just because we have a hard stop here, but we're going to take a pause. We'll come right back, but what a great way to segue. Welcome back, everyone. Shannon Full, CEO and President of the Chamber, here with Shirley Hughes, the new President and CEO of Visit Fargo-Moorhead. And so we are, before the break, we were talking about some of the assets, attributes, and opportunities that we have here as it relates to visitor traffic. And one, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the convention center. I know we had your predecessor on a few months ago, really laying out kind of the process of the convention center. We're still in the process. Shirley or I either one of us could give a little update on that. But Shirley, talk a little bit about somebody that's coming back to this region and seeing other regions across the country that are competitive regions to us, what the importance and the significance of this convention center will be for our region.
So first and foremost, when I was here at the CVB 28 years ago, we talked about how we needed more space. This is not a new topic. Obviously, this is something that even Charlie, my predecessor, has been working on for a very long time. So first and foremost, there are North Dakota association meetings we cannot host because we don't have enough. So think of the low-hanging fruit and what that can do for us from an economic impact of just getting, our own state associations here from the North Dakota side of the river. So really important, I think, even from a perception perspective in North Dakota alone. Second, having, again, the opportunity to host things that is Sioux Falls or Grand Forks even. Somebody else regionally can host things, even things in Minneapolis, St. Paul, that things that we can bring here again that give different exposure for us and all the economic impact that we've talked about. I believe it has it is such a huge opportunity to change the perception of our region because that we can do big things. We already do big things, by the way, right? USA Wrestling, Squirt International Hockey. We do big things, but we need to do more big things, and this will allow us to do that. So I'm excited about that because, again, that just changes perceptions of people because we reach more people that way. And then leads into all the things that we just talked about visiting and experience as well. The convention center, to me, is table stakes, and we don't have it. So that, to me, is why it's so important. One of the most exciting things about taking this role was the fact that the community had decided to move forward with this, and now we just have to figure out where it's going to go and what that's going to look like. And that is a balance of, what is that experience going to be like for our visitors that are here for that? What is the experience like for our community when those events are here? And how do we make the most of that? And 1 + 1 = 3.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Having being on the convention center committee, it is a really, one, it's a very fascinating process, but two, it's also one that we are not going to please everybody with wherever the location may be, the developer that is chosen, the amenities even that are close by. But the reality at the end of the day is it does position the overall region in a much stronger, more competitive position, but also gives opportunities. Even like for us, the chamber has a few events each year that we don't have space for. We have to turn away people, and we want that opportunity to be given to our local residents in the way in which it was brought about. I really commend the leadership for looking at the lodging tax, which is generally revenue generated outside of the region. And so how are we capitalizing on that to an even greater extent? And so that process in the convention center, it's going to be very interesting to see. how the final decision, now that there are four finalists for location and site and developers, how those four come to fruition in the process. So I appreciate the fact that we've got a very dynamic committee that's working on that. As we shift gears a little bit more, you talked a little bit about low-hanging fruit. So if you, in addition to bringing more convention opportunities here, are there other low-hanging fruit opportunities that you see that we could capitalize on, that you want to focus on in the next year, 2 years, that type of thing?
Again, I think there's more sport things that we can do.
Okay.
And capitalizing on the facilities. The Fargo sports facility just opened and is, just completely opened. How we look at things that are out of the norm of what we might do that we can capitalize on with the fairgrounds, right? Cody and I have had some conversations that there's so much we can even do out there with sport that my team was joking the other day, we want human ball racing. I'm like, what is that? But it's a thing, right? There's so many unique things that sort of really fit north of normal as well.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what that is,
yeah,
but
well,
okay.
imagine, we are doing a site visit next week for, some catfishing tournament on the Red. So there's so many things that we can actually be strategic about. And there's only so many sheets of hockey, and we have a lot of hockey. We want more, but there's other things that we can do. So I think being really strategic with my team about that, those things take a little bit to land.
Sure.
As well, because they typically bid out 2, 3, 4 years in advance. But being strategic about how we're looking at that. And then again, once we get this meeting space, how we can go really easily to the regional and state of North Dakota association as well that we can actually bring here.
I love that. I think it's like with any company, any leader that's already looking at how do they diversify their revenue streams, the same way it sounds like it kind of fits here as well. How do we continue to invest in those things that are tried and true and keep us in a consistent fashion, but then how do we diversify around that to new innovative ideas and opportunities that could strengthen the region?
Because leaning back in what we started with is storytelling. So if I'm telling a story about our community around hockey versus around this amazing new convention center versus the 100th anniversary of the Fargo Theater, those are 3 different types of way to tell a story about our community.
Right.
So just feeds that engine, as it were, for us. And again, we'll strike people differently. So I think that's what's going to be most fun to dig into for me as well, from a creative perspective.
Yeah.
And how we can, again, have fun with it.
Yeah, I think one of the other priorities that you talked about that I want to just revisit a little bit is how do we revitalize and lean into our friends to the north in Canada. We have a lot of Canadian travelers that come down. In addition to that, a lot of spending and economic impact, whether that be in our retail aspects of it, whether it's the clothing, the mall, our liquor stores, all of that. Do you have additional ideas as to what we could be doing to lend that hand back out to our friends and have the tourism, because it did take a dip, correct? So
yes.
Anything else we can do in that regard?
I mean, listen, as I said, we're kicking off a holiday shopping campaign starting next week, I believe, right before Black Friday. And again, I have a lot of community partners that are taking part in that, so we'll be able to track that and see how that goes. If it's well received, we'll continue to do that. And I think that we have to be consistent in our message to them. Consistency is everything, right? And making sure that, our community, we can't control everything else happening. We can work with our legislators to try to impact those stories that are happening, but those things take a long time, and some of it's way out of our control. So what we can control is what we tell them as an audience and what we want them to know. And again, different storytelling even to them that they may not realize we have something happening here that they didn't know about because they weren't paying attention for the past year,
right,
or whatever it might be. And I just think consistency is the key.
Yep.
And how we continue, whether it's again through earned and PR. We're working with some Canadian influencers that are going to come down. My team's done a really good job in leaning into the influencer and content creator trend that is now how people consume.
So true, whether you like it or not, right? The
Consumer behavior has
influencer space,
changed.
it's a big deal. So.
Yeah. So working with, again, bringing Canadian influencers here, right? And telling stories through their, their own countrymen, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. And I think we'll learn a lot from this campaign, which I'm excited about. What not to do, maybe what to do more of. So stay tuned. I think let's see how that goes.
Great. Well, I agree. Consistency, authenticity. This is about people, right? And
Yeah.
so how we can align with that is great. We're going to take another short little break, and then we'll come back and wrap up our final segment. All right, and we're back. Shannon Full here, the president and CEO of the Chamber. Our final segment here with Shirley Hughes, the new president and CEO of Visit Fargo-Moorhead. So we've had a great discussion today about the impact of our visitor travel, both economic impact, but also for growth for us. So both of our organizations focus on growth. We know that that's critical for us as we move forward as a region, as we continue to compete with others. But it also has to come in balance, right? We want to make sure that the growth that we are promoting and that we're leaning into also protects the legacy and really the character of Fargo. How can we, just your thoughts a little bit on all of these new opportunities? How do we ensure and instill that those characteristics that we love of this community as we grow as a region?
So I think growth makes it hard, right? Because more people, larger space, all the things, it makes it a little bit more dynamic and complicated. But I think when you're rooted in the strategic vision that everybody's going in the same direction, that's half of it, whether that comes from our city commissions across all three cities to our leadership in the corporate community, as well as with the EDC with Joe and yourself and the economic development teams at both of our other cities, as well. I think that's important that everybody's aligned and moving forward in that same way. That will help. There'll be differences, but that will help.
Yep.
I think even using the convention center example, making sure that it's right for the guest experience, number one, but number two, right for our community as a whole is important. And there will be disagreements about that, but how we can come to the best agreement about that. And then I think, one of the things that not only and I'm going to go back to our capital development grants, not only do we put money into those facilities to help bring visitors, but those are also about placemaking in our own community, right? And making sure that we're our own visitor in our own community, that we experience those things as well. And then finally, I would say it's working with our legislators to make sure that we are getting supported from both states as well in some of those funds that are out there, and making sure that those land in Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo as well.
And I think you make such a great point on the fact that it is rooted in strategy, right? And that when we look at, I think about the legislative side of this, right? The chamber came out and lobbied pretty hard for some of those destination marketing grant dollars, right? Like it's important that we're able to lean into some of those that are already there and already being utilized. How can we showcase those here in our region? And then really, I love what you said about it. It really boils down to people and leadership, right? Making sure that our leaders, it's an area, in fact, we just left this morning, one of our Chamber Pulse events was on the Center for Civic Engagement, and really make sure we're cultivating candidates that believe strongly in the values of this region and of this community, yet want to see growth. And how can we do that in a balanced, pragmatic, thoughtful way? And so it just excites me on the fact that all of us play such different roles, but they really are of one common goal and one common mission. And so how we can continue to see prosperity for individuals, for organizations, for the community as a whole, for our businesses, so important.
I agree. And I think it's also being mindful about how our generations look at things differently. And our young families are, people coming straight out of college that want to stay here, right? And make this their home instead of going somewhere else. So I think that all intertwines as well.
I agree. So when we think about, there are things that we can control that we've just talked about. There's also things that we can't, right? And so when you think about the work that you and your team are doing, talk a little bit about how do you view external risks? No one could have foreseen the pandemic,
Yeah.
right? And that really was detrimental to our visitor traffic and to many of the organizations like yours across the country. I was well aware of that. How do we prepare and balance that as we look to the future with very exciting lenses, but also one that we just have to be prepared?
Well, let's hope we don't have another global pandemic.
Yes, let's hope not.
Because that literally changed everything across the board, as we know, including workforce, right? And I think now that's just starting to lean back the other way again a little bit. I think it's about, number one, making sure that we're very competitive. And that's making sure that our hotels, our attractions, our hospitality community as a whole, which includes our workforce, are trained and have operational excellence across the board. Because if people are going to decide where they're going to go or where they're going to spend their time, they're going to go where they have that best experience. So I think that's really important. I think it's also being mindful of trends and what that does or does not do for us, or how we can capitalize on that in a good way in storytelling. I'm going to go to the influencer space that we just talked about. Earned media and PR has changed, right? And that's a lot of it is because of that. But also, like, how do we capitalize on those things? And again, I mean in a good way.
Yep.
And make sure that we're also being mindful back to the consumers and how they listen and what they pay attention to. And I think being stuck in old-rooted habits and or mindsets for us as an organization, even a community, will not help us when those unexpected things happen. We're going to be ahead of it. Let's hope that we're going to be ahead of it.
Well, and I think what's exciting about this is our ability to bring thought leaders and experts in, not just ourselves, and I know both of us engage in our national associations and are really trying to stay up, finger on the pulse of what's going on, but being able to bring some of those individuals here and that influencer space, I couldn't agree more, right? I am just baffled by, and how do we help to lift up other local influencers that want to help tell the story about this region and how we tell it and where we tell it. I think the other piece, though, that will maybe close on as I ask you, when we think about operational excellence or regional excellence, when you think about all of the opportunities in front of us, maybe just what are you most excited for, and how do we lean into the work that you're doing to make sure we are able to achieve all those great things?
Well, I'm beginning of month 3. I'm excited about everything.
As you should be, right?
Excited about everything. I think I'm excited about, my team has heard this from day one because I believed it when I was here before. Our community can punch above its weight.
Oh, I love that.
We can go against any community our size or larger, I believe. And we have the ability to draw a international visitor, a national visitor, a regional visitor. I truly, truly believe that we have that ability compared to other communities. So some of it's just our quirkiness and who we are, and some of it is we remember you from the movie, right?
Yep.
But how do we leverage that? How do we leverage that in a good way?
Right.
Like how do we leverage that?
Same way as how do we leverage 4 seasons in a good way?
Exactly
right.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We were just working on a new sizzle reel, and I'm like, can we get some more snow in there because we need to, show that there's a lot to do here, in all of our seasons. To your point, so I'm excited about again telling the stories and about being creative with my team, and honestly pushing my team to be their best, and giving them the opportunity, in a different moment in time for our organization, to think out. Let's just shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got the opportunity to do that, and what that means.
Well, I just have to say we could talk all day, but I will. I'll just be the first to say that if others haven't said it already, we are so fortunate to have you here, and we're so looking forward to the future of this region. So, thank you for joining us today, Shirley. If you need more information about the great work they're doing, just visit Fargo-Moorhead. Their website. You can check us out at the Chamber, but thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.